Actually, I think. I thought I took it off that where it's going to stop after every file.
There we go.
So every couple of minutes you just need to make sure.
Okay.
We're going to leave it muted for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to crank it up, and we're going to get you guys to work. So, welcome to a parking lot. You guys made it. Congratulations. Spot, Charleston. So, I told you I'm taking you to weird spaces. So, with this spot, this used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. It sat in the front of this lot facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with 5 Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we are standing in this...
4.5.
Perfect. Nice. Remind me to write that one down. We're standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home, just so everybody kind of has the layout of where we are. Now, spirit boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. I'm going to withhold information purposely. I will tell you that the month of December is prominent here in 2 different ways, and we already had the month of December show up a block away. It's almost like we're getting a preamp of what's actually going to happen. You have to remember, I'm out here 7 nights a week, so people know we're coming. So, with that said, who the heck were Charles and Eliza? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Do you guys see why I look for those second clue verifiers at this point? Because we need to know who the heck we're talking to. But the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than anybody here. I can guarantee you that. So we're going to move on. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to the colonial times that she came from. I'm sorry. According to today's time, she keeps spouting off numbers in my ear and getting thrown off.
Sorry.
What's the highest one you've seen?
5 right now. Okay. Sorry. All right,
Didn't you say 11 a minute ago?
Yeah, I went up to 11 for a second.
Okay, so now we're going to escalate it past 11. Okay.
I'll shut up now.
I don't want you
I
to
thought
shut
you were
up.
supposed to tell him.
Yeah, I do want to know, but
Yeah.
she hasn't given me a chance to like write anything down yet.
Oh.
And all those things that I want to escalate it. Like I don't want to go up to
overthorough.
11.8 and then back down to 2.9 and so forth and so on.
Okay.
But she hasn't given me that a chance yet. That's cool. So I'm glad she's excited. Super glad she's excited, actually. So, but Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So spirit boxes, if you ask Eliza how old she was when she got married, you're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards. The only reason I bring this up is because her husband was over double her age. Kind of creepy back then, a little creepy now. Just so you guys know, it's a pretty big age gap between the 2 of them. But with that, she married her father, or she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying. And he wanted to see all of his children one last time. So he's trying to bring all of his kids home. Well, at least Eliza didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. It's 1744. She didn't marry Charles for a green card or citizenship because we're not even a country yet. She did marry him out of love, and she was right. Her father did not die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to this space. You guys have been in town for at least a few hours that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. He sent her the plant seeds of indigo, and it started right here. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes her blue jeans blue. None of you have. Well,
We know about
I have it growing in my garden right now.
Oh. So, with that, she didn't know what to do with these seeds when she got them. So she had to learn from her slaves on how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot down here. You would think it is, but it's not. Winter does get cold. So once she was done experimenting with it here in her garden, she moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant, calls her dad up and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. She didn't literally call him. It's the 1700s. You had that look of confusion. But she says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So that's her business. Let's get into the weird shit, because that's why everybody's here. Right? So Eliza's the second wife named Eliza, back to back from Charles. Yeah, it's really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. And it's only 5 months apart. First wife Eliza dies in January of 1744. He marries the second Eliza, who planted the indigo, in May of 1744. Yeah. If we want to figure out which Eliza we're actually dealing with, ask the maiden name. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you, so that way you can actually get a genuine response and not know what it is. The mansion's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to it. If we get an answer, you can obviously ask what year that happened. There are times where I get the full date.
You'll see. You'll see.
There are times we get the full date. So, clue is the month of December. That's one of the ways that the word December is actually relevant to this space. So that's one of 2 ways. I'm going to wait for a secondary verifier to be able to figure out like which way that December is actually relevant. Again, that's a very specific month. If we get the date and or the year, obviously it's relatable to the tragedy that happened to the mansion. So, the children. I told you there's at least Charles. There are more. You can ask how many and what the children's names were, but that's about it. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those kids. If we poke the bear, we're going to piss off Eliza, and all activity will stop, including Sarah's readings that she's getting on her device. So don't poke the bear and ruin the tour for everybody, because again, this is a big hot spot. Last but not least, ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. You can ask her how old she was when she died, where she died, what she died from, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Notice all of these questions are non-yes or no questions. They're all very, very specific. It won't always be a blatant answer, but the blatant answer may come up. 3 spirit boxes in play tonight. If you're asking questions, those answers can go to many devices. They can go to a different device. So if you're asking a question, they may hear the answer, might go to my audio, Michael's audio, the audio on the camera. We never know where they're actually going to pop up. That's why I love to use so many different recording devices, because you might ask a question but it goes elsewhere. It happens all the time. It's actually more than likely. That's why I hate the television shows that only use one device at a time. So we are going to be staying within the confines of these walls. We're going to stay away from the handful of vehicles that are in here. We're kind of fortunate that there's not many in here tonight. Just kind of keep in mind when people are passing through, we don't want to record them through video, at least blatantly, and never point your cameras directly at a car and stand still. They don't like that either. So we're definitely going to turn that, unmute that guy, and nice slow movements on those cameras. I am going to work with Sarah for just a few minutes so that way I can get those recordings down of the things that she saw, and obviously your word list is going to be super important. So
I got lots of words.
Can we take a look? Go ahead and hit the little white box. And what are the last 4 or 5 words that you actually popped up?
Let's go. You want to go? Liberal, sample, enough, club, and gone.
Yeah, it's all too vague.
Yeah.
I want the specifics.
Liberal.
Names, dates, specific things that are pertinent to this location. So, there are some nights where that list is wonderful. I'll grab 20 or 30 terms out of it. That was like a super
Unmuted?
I'm unmuted.
Do you want to wander around? What?
So far, I'm super stoked about December and Nicholas. So,
Yours is sort of like this, I think, except
what you saw. And I wasn't trying to be
it's filtering out a lot of the shit that we're
back and forth, back and forth. So 11.5 was the highest so far, right?
No, when I think we're supposed to wander around and avoid the cars.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
The dumpster. The garden was here, they said. Yeah. Affordable price. What was that?
Michael's using the camera. I can see through your dress.
Don't look at me like that. Eliza? Eliza! What was that? What did it say?
Did it not just say hello?
I didn't hear because I was talking.
I
Say
swear to
hello!
Eliza?
More earphones? Can we all do the earphones?
Can you do what?
Can we all do the earphones?
You don't want to do the earphones.
Yeah,
do you want
it's
this?
honestly,
I can
like, I
switch
feel
with
like
you
I'm-
if you want.
No, I just
It's
I
awful.
feel like I'm having a
I mean,
stroke.
it's got pause.
I have one more left. I'm gonna take it, alright? Alright, deal.
Alright, deal. Oh! Hello?
Hello.
Oh!
What
Hello?
was it?
Is there anyone there? Hello?
Oh my god!
car just answer you?
Oh.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It just said maybe.
So what are we hearing out of that thing?
Oh my god.
Not a whole lot, honestly. A lot of mumbo jumbo. Occasional. Earlier, I thought I heard it say hello.
I said Eliza?
Yes.
Hello?
And you're still recording on that? I can see the light blinking.
I am,
on
yeah.
that. Good. So you guys are getting the gist, obviously, of what you're listening for. So it's
Yes.
the song lyrics, the DJs, commercials, no matter how silly you think it might be,
Hard to
sometimes it's
catch it
relevant.
though,
I will tell you that, for example, I had a group just the other night, and they were struggling to hear it because they were too afraid to tell me what they were hearing because they thought it was silly and stupid.
Yeah.
But the couple that was using it, both started laughing. I'm like, all right, what'd you guys hear? And they're like, no, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, how do you know? So they heard
Right.
the song Hands on My Knees. The word knee was definitely relevant to the space that we were in, and they didn't know it yet.
Ah.
So that was kind of the mentality that I gave them. I'm like, we're almost done with our entire night together, and now you're getting the gist of how to listen to this guy.
Right.
So, but you guys grabbed onto it really quickly, so that's
Yeah.
good. But yeah, I'm going to be bouncing around with everybody, and
Cool.
with this one, it's miss it in the spot check. So you're going to get 20 more markers of things that I heard,
Yeah.
whether they're relevant or not. So, right. Okay, what are we getting on that thing? Okay, again, you're only going to hear about 10 or 12 things total. That's been about the average.
26.
26.
Let's go over here. Hello?
Hello. Can I get a blue? Oh, 41. Holy shit.
What was it?
41. I asked for a blue and it says 41.
A blue?
Guess like these colors, like. Ooh. Oh! God, okay, hi.
Hi.
Wait, so when it goes off, do I do anything?
Oh my god. That means there's something next to the...
Still relatively new. If you have motion, go ahead and reset it.
So every time I beat it.
Every single time. Every time you get a color, reset it and see if it goes back to the same.
We got a couple of earlier,
hard
Jess
to-
was joking, it was like Eliza, and it said hello.
She doesn't believe it.
And what if it's 41? Then I have like colors.
Really?
Willing?
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 Super exciting all night long because it's not like you're anything all night. You're getting static and that kind of thing. But yeah, your camera is not always
You get what you're looking for on
I have no idea. I'm just acting like I'm on one of
that.
those
I know.
ghost adventures.
I'm just doing what I'm
It
supposed
looks right, you know.
It's like the...
It's
yeah,
like the infrared.
infrared, right.
Right, look how they look. Sarah looks like a ghost. It's probably who?
What you got going on over here?
Good.
Pineapple?
Alright, what are we getting out of that thing?
I don't know, I thought it just said pineapple, so I don't know.
You may have. Does it mean anything in this location? Not to my knowledge.
No.
Not to my knowledge at all.
Okay. I like that.
I like that, she says.
Like to be fact checked.
Yeah.
So am I just like walking around?
Whoa.
You're a fact checker.
And your 41 is obviously a good rating here. Like, definitely got that in your list of what you've done so far. That sounded like a car. Heartbeat, didn't it?
Oh God, that's
Sounded like what?
blue again. Oh.
Who's here?
Oh no, one blue, and then this went off. So like.
And nothing else coming out of your spirit box that you guys can make out? Again, it's not an easy job. I know that one for sure.
I'm your man. I'm your man.
Is that what it said? lights are on the right way. Yep. 'Cause sometimes people hit these switches by accident. So I actually have a new model coming in, much smaller, and it's a toggle switch instead of that, handle that's on the side.
Very cool.
So I'm always upgrading. What's the easiest way? What are the faults that I find?
Right.
I'm always upgrading.
36.
Holy cow.
Come on.
I like 36.
Hello?
Talk
Seems
to me.
to stop
Blue.
whenever the two of you get near her.
I know.
It's fine.
Ah, fine.
I want blue. I'm looking for
What
blue.
happened? He said that it stops whenever we get near her. We're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrate.
Celebrate. Another really good morning.
All right, so since you guys are still kind of learning and struggling with what you're, listening to, I'm going to pull this to the back and get you guys to the answers to all of those crazy questions. Unless, of course, you've heard something on yours yet.
No, not that I can decipher.
I would say, obviously, so far, Sarah's device has been the most exciting. Obviously, she had a lot of motion, but I'm going to explain what those readings actually mean. So, keep looking like we're missing a person, but there are 6 people here.
No, we're all here.
Yeah, if somebody disappears, I am going to.
Okay, I'm turning this down for a minute. It's hard to listen.
So definitely want to keep your device unmuted. So let's go ahead and keep it running, just so in case we do miss something, it's still up and running, and you can keep your REM pod on while we're still here. So the readings that she's getting out of there, the highest one we heard or we saw that was 41 milligauss. I'm going to give you the examples of that way you guys know what those readings actually mean. So behind your television set, you have a bunch of wires, right? At least you should. Otherwise, obviously TV's not working. If you put that device behind your television, you're going to get about a 40 to 60 milligauss type of reading, which is what we're using tonight for units of measuring, milligauss. She went all the way to 41 in an area where there's no wiring. So take that for what it's worth. Your microwave running on high and you're standing next to it with the door shut is about 150 to 170 milligauss.
I just heard it say it's us. Sorry.
The highest reading I've ever seen on that device has been in this space at 214 milligauss. That is higher than your microwave running on high.
Wow.
Just so you know, dangerous levels. So she's like, yeah, give me a 200. It's not in there, right? It's not a walkie-talkie to the dead.
She's pretending.
So let's go through some of these answers, since I don't have any spirit box work to go with other than the word list that actually we have on Jane's device. So I always like to show you guys mugshots of the people that you're trying to hunt down.
Oh.
Yeah, you need to know what the heck these people look
Cool.
like. That's important, right? Whenever I get the tablet out, I always kind of go around the horn. That way you guys don't have to, overbear and crowd. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. So this is the second wife. She married Charles at the age of 22. He was 45. So
Sorry, I
again,
turned it
these are
back up.
numbers that I'm looking
Oh, that's
for.
fine, yeah.
It's better than 12 and 25.
Ugly. Yeah. Oh.
You're gonna piss her off.
I know.
Wow.
She's beautiful. What are you talking
The
about?
first wife, her name was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So Lamb and Lucas were the maiden names that hopefully will come up in spirit box activity in this location. Now, the mansion caught fire in 1861, December 11th of 1861. There's our first clue with the December that popped up. So obviously I'm going to be searching for the number 11 and 61 on your guys' recording when I'm going through it. So, or anything relatable to a fire. The only picture we have of the mansion was after the fire damage. So, this is where you're standing right now. This was the mansion.
Oh.
Now, every tour guide in town is going to tell you about a great fire of whatever year it happened in. This one's the Great Fire of 1861. This fire was one of the biggest in Charleston. I hate to just use that bragging right, but I like to show you how big the fire was. This is a map of the peninsula of Charleston. You're standing on the green dots on the right-hand side of the screen in the orange flame. This is about $7 million worth of damage in 1861.
Holy
So this is
shit.
a giant fire. So again, I just like to give everybody that kind of perspective.
Wow.
Usually when I've been showing this picture, the word divide has been either showing up on your word list or through a regular spirit box, because it's literally divided, to the tip of the peninsula. The children, there's 4 of them grand total. So, let's go through them real quick. Charles, signer of the Constitution, we already talked about. Let's move on. So,
Never.
I love how she's like testing the ground.
Never.
The next child, his name was Thomas. He fought in a Revolutionary War battle. He was shot in his left leg and captured by the British. That was in the Battle of Camden. Camden is southwest of here, about 3 hours away. Yeah, when he was released, he was actually left on a cane the rest of his days. We didn't get anything relatable to Thomas tonight, but again, I'm just giving you the clues that I look for.
And who was he?
That was Eliza's son. We're going through the children right now.
Okay.
So the next child was baby George. You can kind of already see where this one's going. This is the tragedy I asked you all not to poke the bear with. Baby George does not have a grave or a headstone. His death certificate has the same month and year in the birth and death column, June of 1747. My theory on why George does not have a headstone or a grave is that they would have kept the baby mummified right here in the home, waiting for his mother to pass so he could be buried with his mother.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a theory because you can't really Google mummied baby and not expect a phone call. So, it is a great possibility based on religious beliefs of the times.
Right.
It's going to get even weirder when we start talking about Eliza's death. The last child, though, the only daughter, her name is Harriet. She married in Horry. Myrtle Beach is in Horry County. That should give you an idea of where she lived. It wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride to go see her daughter. Lots of letter writing back and forth. We do get terms wrapped around letter writing when Harriet's name pops up. We'll be like quill, paper, ink, published. We didn't get anything relatable to that, and it's very seldom that we actually hear from Harriet, but when we do, it's very distinctive with those type of words. Eliza's death. She was 70 years old when she died in 1793.
Wow.
Yes, that's a long time to be living in colonial times.
Yeah.
So, she was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments for whatever they thought she had. Turned out to be breast cancer. We're going based off of her medical records now, because they didn't truly know what breast cancer was in 1793. She died in Philadelphia. She's buried in Philadelphia. That should ask 2 questions to the back of your own brain. First off, baby George. Yes, if my theory is true, they would have transported that child, all if my theory is correct. Yeah, how creepy is that? I just don't want to be that driver. The other piece of that is, why are we here if she's buried in Philadelphia? I don't take you to actual cemeteries, folks. You don't get a lot of activity in cemeteries. None of you are going to be hanging out by your grave when you're gone.
Right.
You're going to go to your mansion 400 miles away, which is why we go to spaces like this. So, any guesses as to who the president was, 1793, that was the pallbearer at her funeral?
I don't know.
Going once, twice. Washington, at his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on her indigo helping to get his country started. So, I will tell you, I played one subliminal trick on you. When we got here, I told you I'm not going to be giving you questions like, what color is George Washington's white horse? And I put George Washington in the back of all of your brains. The fact that you guys even still did not give me a correct answer after I asked you the question directly is a good sign. That means none of you are subject to subliminal messaging. You passed with a fail. That's the point. So, again, I do that purposely because sometimes I get folks on the spirit boxes that just want to repeat everything I'm saying. I heard Eliza. I heard Mansion. I heard Pinckney. No, you did not hear Pinckney on the radio. So, with that said, this is a space what we call an intelligent haunting. We ask questions, we hopefully will get answers. Obviously, we missed something going on with your spirit box as I spot check it, because we had a lot of activity going on with Sarah's device, so something's going on somewhere else. And I'm hoping that the 2 of you are close enough that if you miss something, you'll be able to capture the audio from your camera. The next space we're going to is a residual haunting. It is not the same as this one. We will not be able to ask questions because it's like watching a movie on a loop over and over and over again. Now, here's what's going to happen. It is about 3 blocks away, because yes, I'm taking you to legitimately haunted locations.
What's a 48?
48. That's the highest we've had so far. And you're acting like, yeah, no big deal. So, 48. Now, along the way, Sarah, you're going to turn your REM pod device off, and you're going to ignore the red screen, simply because the parking meters are going to make it go off. We don't have any ghosts following us.
Should I turn the back off?
Yeah, go ahead and hit that white button, and then push your antenna in. Video cameras, stop recording. You're not going to record on East Bay Street, and you're going to wait until we see cobblestone cameras, either angled not directly at me, so to speak, but maybe one way down the other. So that way we can get some footage of this location. Your camera down here, Kelsey, loves to capture orbs. So just so you know, This is a great spot. Where are we? When we cross that last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. Charleston used to be called Charlestown. The walled city. It was one of 3 fortified cities in the Americas. So we're standing on one of the first streets we ever had in Charleston. That's why I like to bring you guys down here. The second reason is not a whole lot of tourists like to come down here. not a whole lot of stories, myths, and legends for them. But I went and dove right into the history of this location. People used to live here. I have a full list of residents, every single person that's ever lived here. I do get to choose same common names every 6 to 7 weeks. So I'm going to explain that in just a moment. But when I say people live here, it's not like a lengthy list. Like,
Choose your
it's
weapon.
Like a page and a half.
What?
Choose your weapon? Sorry.
Yeah, you guys are getting clues next to for the next location, which
Oh.
is kind of like what happened with Jane's device earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, very weird. And it happened just the other night too, so I'm not like super surprised by it. But anyway, back to this space. The names I commonly get are Benjamin and John. Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. Do I have anything specific that happened in 1801? I don't. But I get the same two names every 6 to 7 weeks. There are 4 different Johns that lived here in a 60-year time frame. Every once in a while, John will give us his last name. That's Johnson. So we'll get Ben, John, and Johnson all on the same night. Yes, that guy's name was John Johnson.
Discover the legend.
So, interesting thing about this place is what you're standing on. These are Belgian blocks. These bricks are said to be made of granite. So, and I say that very light. So, where's Sarah? Sarah, put your device directly on a brick and leave it there and let me know how high it goes. Granite is not supposed to hold an EMF charge whatsoever. I'm actually studying this location specifically about the science of the rocks here just because it's part of the stone tape theory. Basically, when bricks or anything made of nature has been in the same place for a long period of time, which these were laid in at least 1739 that we know of, they said to hang on to the consciousness of memories and then replaying it back on devices of what we have now, just kind of back on a loop over and over and over again. Those two names, Benjamin and John, I get them every 6 to 7 weeks. I can't make it up. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you could put it directly on the ground, like set it down, and that way you're not leaned over on it. There you go. But before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley.
5-minute conversation.
5-minute conversation.
My stepbrother's a Freemason.
We will get terms like Mason, Brick, Freemason. I've also seen and heard the word Illuminati show up down here quite a bit. A lot of times when I'm talking about the Freemasons, the word symbols will pop up on the word list. Again, I can't make this stuff up, and I'm not triggering anything for it to do anything specific. The word Illuminati, I'm going to put in the back of your heads only because, first off, who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? That's what it's coming through mostly. We've heard it 6 times last year and 3 times so far this year.
3 days.
The other piece of that, I'm only getting that word while we're inside this space. I don't get it anywhere else along our route of where we go, just so you guys know. This is a very interesting space. Did we get any kind of readings on that at all, Sarah? 6? That's actually good for this location. So, with that, normally we wouldn't get anything above a 1.1 because ground natural EMF goes up to about 1.1. The fact that you got a 6 is actually a good sign. The highest I've seen it go is 11.7. Some nights we don't get anything. It stays right around 0.8, which is what I would expect for the location, but a 6 is definitely something to be looked at. So, and I know it doesn't sound like much compared to the Pinckney Mansion site, but when you're down here 7 nights a week and you know what it's supposed to be, yeah, 6 is actually pretty exciting. The next space we're going to go to, just so you know, this is a brief stop, kind of get you the lay of the land for the rest of our evening together. We're going to go to another alley, but I can't take you all the way through it. Why? Because I've been kicked out of it. You guys have all the blinky lights and the noisemakers and that kind of thing. So I still tell the story of what goes on there, just stirring up a lot of activity, because we will get clues from that space, obviously around it, because we're getting clues to it of where we're standing now, and including where we came around that bend when you guys first heard that. Please notify me if it's a challenge or whatever it was. I wrote it down specifically, but the word challenge stuck out. So I will tell you that story. I will also tell you the fun part of it of how I got booted out of the alley, because it is actually relevant to the spaces that I take you after that. So it's very interesting. We're going to be cutting through a neighborhood as we exit this alley. So both videos, you'll end your video as we exit this alley because we don't record in residential areas. But as far as EMFs, the parking meters are going to make it go off again, Sarah. So if you get a spike while we're inside the alley, please let me know. But outside of it, we'll debunk it as a parking meter and crosswalks. Any words, Jane, before we move on?
Technical.
Technical. Yes, I'm getting technical, which means Jane wants to move on.
Intelligent.
Yeah. Was that they just said that?
Yeah.
So what was that other phrase that you heard?
Something about a challenge.
Yeah, the one.
I'll let you know when there's a challenge.
Yeah, I got that one. There was another one.
Oh, angry and then...
Angry.
Oh, you said something about choose your weapon.
Choose your weapon. That was it, yeah.
Writing in the dark is on my resume, just so you guys know. Deciphering my clues in the morning is I don't have to write down yours, it's doing it for me. Interesting. So, you guys have 2 words so far that are obviously relevant to this location, and you feel guilty or whatever that was. Like, that's a great relevance to the location, but we're going to see what actually pops up also around it. Shay, anything coming up out of yours?
No,
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, because we were coming through the neighborhood. My bad. So, for those of you filming, I want you to film the alley behind me very inconspicuously. This is a very popular location for other tours. They did not pay to get filmed. You guys did, just so you know. That's kind of how we roll with this. So, behind me is what we call Philadelphia Alley now. It used to be called Dueler's Alley. This is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston, hence the word challenge sticking out to me. You can see it now. Now, also choose your weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big deal. So, but yeah, you guys see how I put all this stuff together now that they're hearing certain things? Very interesting indeed. With that,
Priorities?
we all tell the same dueling story because we can actually prove it. Of course, I tell it differently because it's not a campfire ghost story to me. There's a lot of clues and details that I'll tell you that you won't hear on another tour. So, let's get into this. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. To prove that he's not just after her money, he moves to Charleston. As he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. Somebody walking by sees what's going on, and he knows the guy that the coachman that set him up, and his name is Ralph Isaacs, the guy who sees everything going on. I'm going to stop on Ralph because you're ghost hunting. Ralph Isaacs has the same initials as to where the doctor came from, Rhode Island. RI shows up here all the time, but I need the secondary clue so I know who it belongs to. But Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you and take all your money. But I got some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room and you'll be safe. The doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off the longer he's in Charleston, so he's making his own money, and Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, if you ever go to another haunted city ever in your life, there's going to be a cliched whistling ghost. I can almost guarantee it. This one I actually have proof from, so let's kind of get into the rest of this. Him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph. He gets better seats. That's the hierarchy. That's the way things go. They're talking about William III one night on the way home. The doctor thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing. Then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It's even uglier. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He's friends with the newspaper. He goes to his friends at the paper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He did not want to kill his
Remember
friend.
this?
Is that what it said? Remember this. So he shoots his gun in the air. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just had the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened during a duel, by the way. Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor
Dying
doesn't die
correct?
either.
Time correct? Something correct.
Something correct. The doctor drops to the ground. His friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. This guy's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So, obviously the campfire part of the story is that when you're walking down the alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my teams all the way down there and listen. I would tell everybody to listen for the voice recording during that part to see if you have any whistles in the background, and people would email me back. I found a whistle in the background. But I want you to keep in mind, if you're going to do that on your own and you use your voice recorders from your phones, every local knows the damn story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. We are going to end up there. My garage is right there. I have to pass the alley every night. If my daughter's on the tour with us, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So, here's how I got rid of that. This is the fun part, right? James like, yeah, let's hear how Nick got himself in a little bit of trouble. So, this alley didn't always come all the way through to this side. So the bricks on the other side are older, obviously, because they were there first. They're sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child at the end of this and fingerprint swipes in those bricks. I treat those bricks the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. But everybody on my tours would always want to be on it.
The
Antichrist.
What is
The
it?
Antichrist.
The Antichrist, it just said.
Wow.
Okay.
Because normally we get very religious terms because we're next to St. Philip's. So you're getting the exact opposite tonight. Very interesting indeed.
Cool.
What?
She said, welcome to the family.
Well,
Yeah.
Everybody wants to stop and look at that brick. And one night, November 26th of 2020, my group decided they're going to stop and huddle around that brick. Well, it's outside a gentleman's dining room window of his beautiful mansion. He was not happy with me. He came out screaming. My daughter thought it was hysterical because Dad's getting yelled at. The next day was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour that night. I was working retail management for over 20 years. I finally took a Thanksgiving off. So the next day was November 28th. Yes, all of these dates are relevant. I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to go down halfway like everybody else or to reroute my tour. So I decided I'm going to reroute because it's not fair in my group of 10 to try to work around 20 to 60 people down there. I didn't know much about this story, nor did I believe in it way up there at the end of the corner. And I'm not a pirate person. I'm a vampire guy through and through. I tell my team we're going to wing it and we move on. Before we leave, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating the female pirate Anne Bonny. We get there, I told what I knew, and I told them that I didn't truly believe in the story, but we're going to see what happens. Somebody hears the number 300 while we're there. I don't know what it means yet. The next morning I did the research. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. 300 years anniversary.
Cool.
So I keep taking my teams back up there every single night. It's a hit or miss. It is a roll of the dice. Some nights there's nothing there. Other nights we get a crap ton that comes through all of these spirit boxes and all these devices, and the REM pod loves to go crazy on command. So we're going to go up there, but where there's a stop in between. I always like to show you what all the other ghost tours are doing first, because yes, some of those stories, they're not so much legends, and I do get a little bit of activity from them. So we're going to stop at St. Philip's Church and Cemetery along the way. For those of you recording the video, if you want to continue, by all means, you can continue the rest of the night. I'm actually curious to see if that thing will continue to record, which looks like it's doing great. But continue listening to your spirit boxes. Your readings are still kind of out of whack until we get to that last stop. But damn it, you've been having me out of the game for a while. All right, have we had any words show up since we've been here before we move on?
Owner.
Yeah, nothing. Let's do this. Oh, we're gonna wait for them to kind of pass through. And I don't know. Do you guys want Antichrist in your notes?
We're
I'm not sure
opposed.
that I do.
It's there.
Takes
Yeah.
a little bit more than that to scare us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to get it back out of there.
Sorry. Family.
A little vague.
Hmm?
A little vague.
Yeah. For years. The important.
Over this courtyard is the walls and built up and out.
Can't hear him.
Gate right in
Thank
the
you.
middle of it. That gate is for the loser of the duel, meaning he's the dead guy. It was a shortcut to get to the cemetery in Greenview. So not a lot of people know why that gate is actually there, but that's the specific reason why that gate is there. It does have a run-on gate on it now. I call it the death gate. So remember that the alley didn't always go all the way through. Otherwise, they have to carry the dead body all the way down to Queen Street and then bring it back around to get to the cemetery. So yeah, now you can have a seat. Chill out. Am I that boring? Come on. It's
No,
not
I'm
that
just tired.
We're on vacation. You can be home or not. So Every ghost tour stops.
Republican?
What was it?
Republican?
No, that's specific.
Okay.
That's a good one, actually. So every ghost tour likes to go up to the cemetery up here to my right, which would be your left. Very interesting. And I'm going to have somebody Google this really fast as I'm talking about it. Somebody look up the political party of John Calhoun for me.
John Calhoun.
Yeah, your 7th vice president. See what his political party was.
Chase got it.
Moving on.
Political parties may not have been fully separated.
You're the one.
So, again, you heard Republican, I got all excited. So, I like to point out a couple things about the cemetery before I tell you why every ghost tour goes up to that cemetery. The eastern side, which is the side we're sitting on, is for basically the natives. So, if you're from Charleston, you can get buried on this side. Charles Pinckney, the husband, and Charles Pinckney, the nephew, are both buried over here. Every once in a while, we will get a clue relative to them. Not very often, but we won't get it. The other side is for everybody else. So, if you're not from here and you belong to the church, you get buried across the street. Your 7th vice president, John Calhoun, is across the street. So they weren't exactly sure if he was from here or not, so they just shuffled his ass back and forth trying to figure out where he was supposed to go. Turns out he's not from here, he just lived here for a very, very long time. So, but they all stop up there because there's a sign right inside the gate. It says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost. And to be honest with you, I let the other tours have it because it's their last final show and tell. Like they have something to go by. Your show and tell is in your hands, right? So I let them have it. After we're done talking about the pirates across the street, if those of you with video cameras want to come back over and try to get some footage, if there's no tour there, by all means you can do that. But again, I just try to stay out of their way and let them do their thing. But the sign reads, there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost for a reason. There's a young lady that dies in 1888 by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. She dies 6 days after her stillborn child. That's pretty much the end of her story, other than the fact that in 1987, a local photographer was in town, well, not in town, he's local, taking pictures of all of our cemeteries. He's putting a book together. He does capture a full apparition in one of his photographs. As he's developing his photos, he finds an apparition in one of the pictures. It's 1987, so he doesn't have any kind of tech to go off of like what we have now. So he has to send it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is to this group. That's kind of cool. The teenagers look at me like I'm nuts, by the way. They have no idea. But yeah, Kodak doesn't know what to do with this photograph either. So for guys like me, this thing is gold. But it is cursed to females. So I'm going to ask that everybody please do not touch the tablet as I'm going down the line and showing everybody this picture. They say if you're handling it, even in a digital format, symptoms like what we talked about at the beginning, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness, can occur. Pregnant females are probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the stillborn baby in the story. So I'm not going to be the guy where somebody has a great vacation and 9 months later I curse their family. Don't touch my damn tablet. Good, got it. Let's get this party started. So. But again, I will zoom in on the actual apparition so everybody can see it clearly. But that's the reason why everybody goes up there is because they have an actual photograph to show.
I'm gonna have a break.
As soon as I find it.
It's really so much. Do you want to hear it? No?
There we go. So, 2 by 2, I'll show us the picture. This is a full photograph that I did. You're a dude, I wasn't worried about you. There is your full apparition. That's her grave, that's her shoulders, you're looking at the top of her head, and the baby basket next to her. This is probably another instance where the mom is buried with the baby. So, full photograph. You can see where this would look a little out of place. We can zoom in with today's technology. Shoulders, top of head, baby basket right next to her.
Oh, okay.
So now? Yeah,
cool.
pretty crazy stuff. Full photo. Shoulders, top of head, baby baskets next to her. Again, that's why every ghost tour goes here. It's their big, giant, final hurrah. I just let them have it. But again, if you guys want to go over there and get footage afterwards, by all means do so once we're actually investigating across the street, because we're going to be doing, all devices out full force across the street once we go over there. But let's get your mindset going on pirates, because everybody see the burning gas lamp across, like down the way there a little bit?
Yes.
That's the pirate house. It's got a big anchor on the front of it. Can't miss it when you guys are walking around town. Somebody does live there, so don't go in his backyard looking for ghosts. He gets pissed off. Don't ask me how I know all these things. But again, he's one of those guys, like, he will come out screaming. And I know it for certain. Anyway, that's where Blackbeard's men came off their ships, had a place to stay, met with a few young ladies, and they dug a tunnel underneath that pirate house, going 1 block away to Dock Street Theater. Baxter Theater at the time was called Planters Hotel. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, Pirates, it's a whorehouse was the major attraction. But Pirates were our first stagehands. They would actually go over there to work at the playhouse in between bartering with the locals. That is not a myth or a legend because we just filled in that tunnel in the 1990s. We're below sea level. Why the hell did it take us so long to fill in that tunnel? The golden age of piracy took place in the early 1700s, which means it was there like 200 years plus. Like, what, 280 years? Like, that's a long time. We flood here all the time. So I'm really surprised. There's a lot of rumors around that place, but I'm going to pretty much call those out. So let's do that. I say that the tunnel went all the way out to the tip of the peninsula, and that was the way for the pirates to be able to sneak into town. I'm going to call BS on that one because, first off, how the hell are you going to hide a pirate ship in our bay so you can sneak into our town? Like, that's just stupid. The other thing is 40 to 60 men crawling underneath that tunnel every time they want to come to Charlestown to work a little bit. Yeah, I don't see that happening either. They also say that Blackbeard actually buried some of his treasure there. I'm going to call bullshit on that because we all know that that treasure is in North Carolina, not South Carolina. So keep that in mind if you know anything about the pirate lore. That would have been in Ocracoke where Blackbeard died. He was there protecting it for a reason. Yeah. So, again, I am not a pirate person, but I've read more books on piracy since that first night that I told you about earlier that I can probably spout most of these pirate careers off the top of my head. I read a lot, I watch a lot, like there's a lot that goes into this. So, before you guys all fall asleep because Sarah's over there not working, let's get us across the street so we can get all back to work on the last location. Sarah's down and shooting guns, smoking, like, devices on the ground, like, don't let me work.
Is he out of work? No, I mean.
Wow, horse rides are still out. They're running late. Alright. So, this is our last stop. Yeah, we were waiting on you. Okay. I think I gave everybody a hard time about something tonight. Did I make sure I was like, all right.
You've been more than fair.
Dividing up the hard time. So this is our last stop. So again, we're going to do a full investigation like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site, but you're going to be able to venture off a little bit more. For those of you with the cameras, we already talked about the cemetery, but you can also go to the front of the powder magazine over there. Once I'm done giving you the history, just don't interrupt the other tours. That's the only thing that I ask. So let's get into this space because this is a crazy whopper of a story. Even if we don't get any activity here, this story alone is worth the stop. So we're going to be talking about the powder magazine. It's the little building up there with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. If nobody explained what earthquake bolts are to you, they're basically turnbuckles. If we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, which we have not, they say you can turn those turnbuckles and it's supposed to straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. Yeah, it's bullshit. I talk to a lot of people from California. Yeah, the reason I bring these ones up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston actually put in because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina, finished in 1713. So we talked about those Charlestown walls earlier. That parking garage over there is where the wall stood. It went up past the powder magazine, just about half a block, and started going south behind me to lock it into the corners of the wall on purpose. If a pirate ship or Revolutionary warship attacks it from 3 blocks away from the water, it's going to have a hard time getting through the 35-inch thick walls. So we're going to pretend that it does and blows up the gunpowder. So pirate attacks and it goes through, the gunpowder blows up. There's sand underneath those shingles that you're looking at that was designed to go up in the air with the explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. The sand is still there. It was put there in the early 1700s and sand does not disintegrate. That's another great idea, but that shit don't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It did get attacked and the sand went up, but the building burned to the ground. So apparently there wasn't enough sand in there to put out the fire. This one's just never been attacked. It has served in 7 different wars and a rebellion. So you're like, why the hell are we here if we're talking about pirates? Basically, this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. We're here because this building is familiar to the time that Anne Bonny actually started her pirate career right here in Charleston. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. That's the kind of, I call this a familiar. So, right in the middle of its construction, let's get into this story of Anne Bonny. 1708, a young lady moves here. Her name is Anne Cormack. She's a young lady at this point, not quite yet married, but she moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother, as Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple twists and turns in this one. So they're running away from his wife. How pissed was she, Jane? You got to get up and leave the country?
Yep.
Yeah. They came from Ireland. They land in Georgetown, just north of here. So that's between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quickly. So that means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. Like, I'm just giving you the mentality of this young chick.
Savage.
So, we're going to fast forward. Building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne at the time is roughly about 16, 17 years old, and she is stoked. She's going to fall in love with one of these pirates very quickly. Guy number 1. Yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's a number of them. First guy is James Bonney. You can already see where this one's going because we've already talked about her name several times. But Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormac becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. But James Bonney is a privateer. This is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a spy for the British and a coward in her eyes. So a few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is this actual person that they based the Captain Jack Sparrow character off of, just so everybody kind of has that reference. Jack does have his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it, but you can't put a girl on a pirate crew because that's bad luck. Basically, you know, there's a curse there. So he makes a deal with her. He wants to sneak her on the ship, so he says, if you dress like a guy and be part of the crew and hide your gender, you could be a female in my quarters and all will be well. He's the captain. Of course she goes along with it, and she's okay with this because back home in Ireland, Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. We're all adults here, 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. You're going to figure out that she's a female.
Yeah.
Go have the baby. These are friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She comes back, but there's no child. We have no idea what happened to this kid. She's also dressed like a female, which makes Jack free to go flirting with that pirate crew because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, because we'll never know for certain. But the British find out where they are. The British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks. They can't work the cannons yet. They don't know how. So they're obviously going to get taken because this is a whole fleet of British ships. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her beau and captain, Calico Jack, and says, you should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog. The word dog obviously stands out on our spirit boxes here. So the judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. He wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly by themselves after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. The 2 ladies go in front. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said, claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he delays the hanging, sends them both back to jail. Dad is still here in Charlestown area with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4 has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84.
Wow.
Yes, very abrupt ending that none of you were expecting.
Damn.
All my stories end in death, but Mary Reed dies a year later in 1721 in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. So, this is not a space where I'm going to give you a shit ton of questions like what I did at the Pinckney Mansion site. I only left out 2 facts that I can actually prove. Everything else is fair game because you guys all know what you're doing with your devices by now. The 2 things that I left out are the name of Anne Bonny's parents, that's the father and the mistress, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So you can ask either of those questions if you want something to get started with, but I'm going to hang on to you guys for 1 more minute because I did tell you at the beginning of this that people have passed out on my tours. What I tell you now is actually relevant to the story. It'll make sense in just a moment. Back in September, much cooler night than what we have now. Like, we're all sweating. I can see our foreheads glistening. I bring my group back here just like what we're doing. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost. I have to pick him up by his armpit so he doesn't hit his head on the ground. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side of him. We take him to that wall, which is where we're going to end, by the way. And he get him a bottle of water. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's important to know he doesn't know the Anne Bonny story that you now know. So after I'm done telling the story, I spread everybody out with their devices. They pull me aside and tell me they are 2 transgender males. Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story. And it made complete sense as to why one of them about passed out the minute we entered the space.
Sure.
You have to take that for what it is. Again, I'm a good writer, but I can't make this shit up. So, one of those stories. Psychics and mediums normally don't make it through my tours. The Pinckney Mansion site, with the amount of EMF that we get from that space, they normally don't make it, just so you guys know. And a lot of people won't tell me ahead of time. But we're going to have fun in this space. Hopefully nothing crazy is going to happen to any of us. But turn up those spirit boxes. Video cameras, you guys know where you're allowed to go at this point. Definitely get your REM pod going. And again, we're going to stay away from the vehicles, but I'm going to go, there's a little ledge over there by that brick wall. I'm going to let you guys work. So you guys, you know, if you want to go over there and sit over there and listen, you can do that too. She's like, oh, I want to sit down too. But yeah, go sit on the ledge. I'm going to be chilling over there, just smoking, but let's spread out. Let's see what we can find over here. Jane, what's on that list?
Ever.
Ever? Anything before
Do
that?
you want me to hang on to it?
I mean, I don't care.
Pair.
You want to?
I feel like you're overwhelmed, so.
Like,
I am tired of listening
Yeah.
to it, yeah.
Tune.
I'll hang on to it.
For the longest time, it was just closet. Forever.
What I like is
Chair.
a pair of pairs.
Yeah, chair.
How you doing, baby?
Good, how are you? Was Anne a lesbian? Was Anne a lesbian? I'm pretty sure Anne was a lesbian. I was crying.
Are you crying? Turn blue.
No guarantee. Private. I was crying. No guarantee, private. I was crying, no guarantee, private. What? It's beautiful, isn't it? This is creepy, this thing.
Is it?
I heard a woman say I was crying.
Really? Oh, you're just.
No guarantees, it's private.
That's what you just said?
It is overwhelming.
Right. It's a radio, no?
It cycles through.
Oh.
Harvest.
Alphabet. Alphabet. Give me something.
That's not working. I just said that in my ear.
It's it?
That's not working.
Okay, well then give her the name of the ship. Give her the name of the ship. The name of the pirate ship. What was the name of the pirate ship? Give me that. Not Alphabet. I obviously. She's just talking away. Privilege.
Oh, Sarah's got friends over there. Friends.
I heard that too.
Did you hear
I did.
that?
What?
I said Sarah's got friends over there, and it
And
went
then it said
friends. Hello?
I can't. There's too many things.
Hello?
Hello?
Are you there?
Is there anyone there? Look, she's just chatting with everybody. Get her one of those stickers.
When we call the Uber, we're calling from right here, right?
No, I'm gonna make you walk 30 minutes first.
What question is that?
I'm going to give you my card. I will pay for the Uber's home. Can you give me the name of the ship? Name of the ship.
William.
See a lot of green coming out of there, Sarah.
Yeah, it likes to go to blue around here.
Okay. Anything coming out of your spirit box?
Yeah, I heard a woman's voice say I was crying. And then no guarantees. William?
Yep.
Really?
That's the father there.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Then you had a
What?
blue.
Near death.
Oh.
Again, the app is trying to scare you.
I guess so.
What else do you have on there? Anything?
Infant.
That's definitely relevant.
Yep.
Corner. Stones. Faster. That's about it.
Okay. Anything coming up? Anything else that you remember? Or anything else on your camera that you've been noticing? I know it's hard to function both of those at the same time.
No. Someone here is lost. That's what it just said.
It's that full phrase?
Yeah,
here
someone
is lost?
here is lost.
It's not easy.
It's very overwhelming.
I listen to that with my first cup of coffee every day. Like, that's one of the first things I go through. Any numbers show up?
No.
Yeah. This is not an EMF, like, spike. So if you do get something on the EMF, I get excited. Because that means something else is going off, too. But I like the fact that we had William come up. That was pretty cool. Not surprising, but still cool that we had something come through. Okay, where did they head off?
Let's walk a little.
Yeah, go ahead and do another lap. Grab
Okay.
Michael and Shay and come over by the wall. See what else you guys got.
I hear radio.
That's what it is. It's cycling through all the stations, but once in a while it comes through with a clear phrase.
Okay. So did you ask what the name of the ship was?
It's William.
How do you know that?
Because it told me that.
You didn't tell me. I'm the one asking the questions. I'm asking
I
the
think
questions.
that's what
You're
he
getting
said.
the answers.
He said that William was relevant, so I don't know.
What's happening?
It said William,
Where? On there?
and apparently that's her father's name,
Whose father?
Aunt Bonnie.
Oh.
Okay, come on.
Uh-huh. What was that?
But that's not the name of the ship, William.
I don't know.
I need to get cool.
Yeah.
Hey, how's your kid? You get anything? Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, it's not easy. Like, keep it open during the day because